Hello folks, welcome to another part in this hybrid zombie shooter tutorial series. Following up on our previous tutorial, we're building up on our NPC quest panel, and today we're going to take a look at how to receive the quest from the NPC and also use the same exact button that we're using to accept the quest as our claim option to go and claim the rewards from the NPC once you have done completing the objective. I hope you will enjoy today's video. Hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel if this type of content is what you're looking for. And now let's get into the video. So now the entire functions that we previously did on the accept button is going to change because we're going to be introducing the claim option from the NPC. So we want to now re-look at our entire accept quest options and the functions behind it. And we want to rebuild it so the claim button can be implemented along with our existing system. So to go through the process flow, when the player clicks on the accept button, immediately I want to assign the quest to the player. And that's basic. After this, we're running this onQuestAccepted function. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this quest ID from our NPC. So we're going to go back to our NPC base and we're going to find our onQuestAccepted function here. I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this quest widget array because we're going to have to rebuild this again and just leave this function. So when our quest gets accepted, we want to go ahead and check to see if that quest is in our available quest container. If it is in our available quest container, then we want to go ahead and remove that quest from our available quest container, and then go ahead and regenerate widgets for the available quest. And inside of this generate widgets for available quest, we are currently taking a look at all of our available quests, and we are getting the data table row information from them. We're building the widget of quest info and adding it to our quest widget array. So one thing that I want to do here in the beginning is to drag in our quest array and then go ahead and clear it. So every time we are going to go ahead and rebuild our widgets new, we want to make sure that our quest widget array is completely empty before we go ahead and build it, so there's no duplicates or the line item is not replicating itself. And after this, we are going to populate the quest in widget. Here, we're clearing our container, our NPC quest container, and then we're checking to make sure that the quest widget array is empty. If it is empty, then end of function, no need to do anything. But if it is not empty, then we go through each and every single widget in our array, and we're adding it to our child here. And then once it's completed, we're returning the function. And one last thing that you have noticed is this branch, which has the delete quest option. This branch basically checks to see if we need to delete this quest or are we not deleting the quest. So in our quest info, this is where we're going to define this Boolean. So we're going to go ahead and select our structured data, and we're going to check to see if this quest is complete on return. So we're going to enable that pin. So we want to make sure after we click our button, we want to assign our quest. So this is basic. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And just after that, I want to now go ahead and do a branch and then connect this node to the branch and connect this complete on return to this condition. And if this complete on return is true, then we want to do something else here. But if it complete on return is false, then we're going to go ahead and delete this quest from our array. We can actually remove this repeatable pin here because we're going to be controlling the repeatable in a completely different manner. So when the player clicks on the accept button, we're going to check to see if the complete on return Boolean is set to true. If it is set to true, then we want to do some functionality to enable the buttons for the claim and stuff, which we're going to do in just a second. But if this is set to false, then we want to go ahead and delete the quest. So for example, if I go over to our NPC, and I know this quest is set to true and this is set to false. So if I collect this quest, it's going to stay exactly where it is. But if I collect this quest, it's going to disappear. And another bug that we want to address here as well. Now, if I continuously keep pressing F, you'll see that the objectives are duplicating. And we want to fix this as well. In our NPC base, if you go over to your interact function, what we have done here is when the player presses the interact button, which is the F, we're going to check to see if we can interact with the NPC. Obviously, they need to be within their trigger. If they can, then we're enabling our widget to be visible on the player's screen, and we're adding it to the player's viewport. However, we're going ahead and populating the quest in widget again. What this basically does is it takes the quest in the widget array and it repopulates it into the NPC quest widget box. So that's why it keeps duplicating itself. So we can actually remove this from here and connect this node to our input mode. Instead of plugging it there, we're going to go to our event begin play. After we have created our NPC UI widget, this is where I want to populate the quest in widget. And we only want to do this just the once when the game starts. So when the game starts, it's going to generate all the widgets for the available quest in our array. Then we're going to create our widget. And then we're going to go and populate our widget with all the quests in it. So now if I go ahead and press F, go over to Christina, and if I keep pressing F, this is not duplicating anymore. So back in our quest info, now we need to go and define what happens if the player needs to return this quest to the NPC when they're done. So I want to put in a note in the actual quest line stating that the quest has begun. So I'm going to make this very simple. I'm going to go ahead and add in a size box. I'm going to drag in the size box just before the rewards so it can kind of show the progress. And this size box is going to have a text box. And I'm going to drag and drop this text block into the size box and then set this to about 15 for our purpose here, and also change the color to something like blue. Compile, and then this one is going to be our quest status underscore txt. And make sure this is a variable. When this widget gets generated, I want this quest status text needs to be hidden. So off of our event pre-construct here, I'm just going to move all of this node a little further back and then drag in our quest status text. And then we're going to do a set visibility and then set this to collapsed. So it doesn't show up as soon as the widget gets created. We want to control when this quest status actually shows up. And we only want to show those quest status when the player clicks the accept button. So here I want to drag in my quest status text, and we're going to do a set text and connect this to true. And I can put something like quest has begun and then a couple dots, for dramatic purposes. And followed by this, we want to now go ahead and make this visible. So we're going to do a set visibility and set this to visible, just like this. So now if I go ahead and press play, go over to Christina, and if I accept this quest, it's going to say quest has begun. And this quest has begun is not going to show up anywhere else. It's only going to show up on Christina because she's the only one who has the accept and reject button. And we're making this message appear off of our accept button. And feel free to move this around wherever you would like to see. You can make it as part of your main text or anywhere within here. But for the purposes of this tutorial, this should work. Now, once the player accepts the quest and we have set the message saying quest has begun, now we want to go ahead and hide our accept button and also the reject button. So we're going to drag in our accept button and also our reject button and do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate the set visibility twice. You can press Control and D for Delta on your keyboard to duplicate while having one of these nodes selected. You can just press D and it will duplicate it. And then we're going to set this to collapsed because we no longer want to see the reject button or the accept button after the player has accepted the quest. So now if I go ahead and press play, talk to Christina, and I accept, you can see the button disappeared, but it says the quest has begun. Now you have two options. Option number one is to use this exact same accept button to control your claim options, or you can create a completely new claim button and then you can handle all the claim functions. I'm going to show you on this accept button how to change this accept button into a claim option. But in your game, you can feel free to just create a new button for claim, but the rest of the function would pretty much stay almost the same. So to make this accept button as a multifunctional button, every time this accept button is pressed, we want to check to see what is the status of our quest before we go ahead and assign. Because if the quest is in a completed status, we don't want to go ahead and assign it. But if the quest is not in a completed status and the player doesn't even have the quest, then we want to go ahead and assign it. And this is where our Boolean quest is ready to return is going to come into play here to make this into a multifunctional button. So here, when the accept button is clicked, then we're going to go and check to see if the quest is ready to return. And this is going to be a branch. So now before we go ahead and take care of what needs to be done in our true channel, we need to first allow the player to click on this button. Because when the quest gets assigned, we're actually hiding the button. So now we need to go ahead and make the button visible. And we can't make the button visible here. We need to make the button visible when we get the notification that this quest is completed. So in our designer, make sure you go to your buttons or your buttons container, and where you have your accept button and you're setting up the text for the accept button, make sure that it is set to a variable and you also provide it a name. I named it as accept button text, but you can name this however you like. And at the very end of this event notify on completed RTQG event, we can go ahead and drag in our accept button. And then we're going to set text for this accept button as claim. And also drag in the accept button. And we're going to set visibility as visible. So this is for our text. We're changing the text to claim, and the button, we're making it visible. So now if I go ahead and press play, talk to Christina, pick up the quest, it says quest is in progress, pull out my weapon, and then start firing. 1, 2, and 3. My tracker is saying I need to return to Christina. I go and talk to Christina. Now I have a claim button. So, which is great. So now we have an option to click on this button. So when this button gets clicked, this is when our true channel actually fires. This is where you want to go ahead and reward the player with the rewards and also close this quest from the NPCs list. And we're going to do this using a user interface function. So in our quest manager, currently on our objective completed, we have this auto quest completion node. And this auto quest completion function can be reused again. What I mean by that is I can actually convert this into a separate function and call it whenever I would like to complete a quest. So let me move this return node out of the way here. And also this quest ID, because we want to feed in this quest ID, and also the quest info, we want to feed it in. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of this node and make sure you're not selecting the quest ID. I'm going to disconnect this quest ID here as well. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to collapse it to a function. What this is going to do is it's going to create a new function with everything inside of it. And we need to do some cleanup in there, which we're going to do. But let's go ahead and name this. This would be quest underscore auto completion. And we can actually drag this return node and leave it there. And the quest ID is actually being sent multiple times here. So we can go ahead and delete all of this. And then we can just leave the completed quest ID. And we can delete this here as well. And as soon as we go inside, we want to make sure that this completed quest ID is connected wherever it's necessary. So over here, we want to get our completed quest ID. That'll connect the node. I can actually copy this node and then I can plug it in here, just like this, paste it and plug it. And then also at the very end where we're notifying the UI, we want to paste it and then also plug this in here so we don't have that line running across. So this is now our auto completion function, and you can call this from other events. It doesn't now have to be only through our on objective completed. So this gives us that extra freedom. As long as your quest ID and your quest info is defined, then you can go ahead and call this auto completion. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to our BPI quest. We're going to add in a new function and we're going to name this as on quest claimed. This is going to require 2 inputs. One is going to be our quest ID, and this would be of type integer. And the second one is going to be our quest info, and this would be of type st quest data. And that'll be our structure. Compile and save it. And now in our BP quest manager, in our event graph, we can go ahead and implement this on quest claimed event, and then drag in our quest auto completion, plug in the quest info and also the quest ID, just like this. I don't like this crisscross, so I'm just going to quickly move this node down below so it's straight. And also in our quest info, now this is our claim button. So when this is claimed, we want to get our player character. Off of our player character, we want to now get component by class. This is going to be our VPC quest component or quest manager component. And we're going to call in our onQuest claimed function, connect this off of true. We need to provide the quest ID, which is our quest ID here. And the quest info is basically this quest info. So I can just drag it and plug it in here just like this. Compile and save it here. So now if I go ahead and press play and pick up the quest from Christina, pull out my weapon, kill 3 zombies, and then return to Christina. And then now if I press claim, you should see the reward show up and also the message showed up saying that the quest is completed. My tracker has now disappeared because the quest is no longer in, there's no more quest that I have because it's completed. My completed array is now updated. So the last thing that we need to do is to update our NPC array. And this is going to be pretty straightforward. This is going to be this node right here. So we're just going to copy this node and then we're going to paste it up here and then connect it. This is going to be getting all of our actors with interface with the BPI quest. And it's going to delete a specific quest ID, which is our quest ID here. I'm going to just drag it and connect it in here. And then where it says delete quest, I am going to set that to true. So back in our NPC base, here where it's set to true, it's going to go ahead and clear that quest from my available quest array. So let's go ahead and press play. Talk to Christina, accept the quest, pull out the weapon, kill 3 zombies. Now let's go ahead and talk to Christina. And then once I press claim, you should see that quest now disappeared. Now I can go ahead and pick up this quest if I want to, and then I can go ahead and complete it. 3 and the 4 zombies killed, and then our auto completion quest function is working as well. And something bonus that I want to show is if you want to really show the player that the NPC is happy because you completed their quest, you can always create a custom event and name this quest completed _ happy. It doesn't have to be happy, but I'm just, arbitrarily naming this. We can just go ahead and call for play animation. And I actually went ahead and downloaded an animation, which I will show you in just a moment. And after we populate all of this, we're going to go ahead and call our happy function, quest completed happy. And if I go ahead and press play, I can go to talk to Christina, accept this quest, and then I can go ahead and kill 3 zombies. 1, 2, 3. I talk to Christina and I claim it, and Christina goes, woohoo! We have done the quest. All right, that's just something extra that I just wanted to quickly show you. All right, folks, that's all I have for you for today. So we have created a quest system. It's a little dynamic in nature, and we also have the NPC where you can go and take a look at all the quests that they have in their panel. And I've also showed you how to create a quest that is automatically completed, and also the quest that you need to return back to your NPC to get your reward as well. In our next video, we're going to work on that famous exclamation mark that goes on top of the NPC to notify that the NPC has some quest for the player. And also we're going to be looking at the repeatable quest functionality as well. And also share this video with your fellow game developers. Maybe they'll find this useful as well. Thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll catch you all in the next one.